Okay, I'm going to do something different today. We're not going to do tracking, algorithms, and demonstrations and coding. I'm just going to do something different, which is to do a little bit of quick comparison of trackballs. I've tried a couple of them over the last few weeks, and we'll go through them with which features work, which features I like and I don't like, and then just take a look at the different variations that are out there on the market. So this is standard. I hope I'm putting it correctly on the screen. I actually have no idea what the camera is picking up. I'm just guessing this is sort of probably the middle. So this is an index, typical index trackball. So this is how you would hold, and people would usually use this or both of them, but the fingers here to control. And they have different variations, which actually typically look very similar. And then I have the usual, the other option that are out there are variations of a thumb controlled trackball. So you use this, and it kind of looks like a standard mouse except for that. And then I have that version there that has looks like a fancy futuristic sort of robotic eye, so I call it. So yeah, we'll go through that, and then as reference I also have this, which is the standard mouse. Not really standard, this is more like a gaming mouse. So we'll run through that. So let me start. So yeah, apologies for this. Desktop is very crowded, a little bit messy, but that's what it is. I'm running out of space. As you can see, everything is stacked here, and there are other things that are not here. But let's start with this. So this is Sanwa Gravi. This is available on Amazon, so you can very easily buy this. So it's asymmetric, so it follows the curvature of your hand, which is pretty good, because I've always had problems with using hand and with these 2 points flat on the surface, but then when your hand is on the right, you tend to rotate, and so that's sort of why I started looking for something that's asymmetric. And this is similar actually to my mouse. So this is asymmetric. This is the Keris, an older version, and so my hand rests gently around it, and to me it's perfect. It's very light, and yeah, it does its job. So before I started considering trackballs, this is basically my go-to. There are variations again in other brands, so it works. So back to this. What do I like about this? If you guys, you probably have seen or even own the Microsoft. There's a popular trackball from Microsoft from many years ago. Microsoft Explorer, I think, something like that. And so it's people say that it's perfect. The form is perfect, and it's of course it has a close following. But the problem now is the plastic has been sort of showing its age, and so it would break. And so this is maybe similar to that. There's a brand that kind of mimics the Microsoft Explorer called Bloopy, but I don't have that, and they tend to be more expensive. But this is to me maybe the closest. So if you put your hand here, and again, if you rotate your hand when your hand is further away from you, so it would rotate this way, and you just gently rest it, and I think this is perfect. And so this is of course your left click. Interestingly enough, this is the right click, and so this might confuse people, because normally if you go to a traditional mouse, these buttons around here, these two here, they are for forward and back for your, let's say when you're using when you're using Edge or yeah, when you're using the internet, so back forward on pages, and usually the right click would be something on another side. So in fact, that's what Proto Arc has. So this is the Proto Arc. They actually look very similar, and I suspect that's because they come from the same general vendor for the components, so they're similar. But there's actually something that's much probably exactly the same as Proto Arc, which is the Nulea brand. Exactly similar. The difference is, and this is what I don't like about the Proto Arc, this one here, the scroll wheel, is I think always this color. So this might be a brand color for Proto Arc, whereas the Nulea sometimes this would be black. So if you want to be all black, the whole thing could be black. Like in this case, this is sticking out. Yeah, and I don't quite like it. So the difference here is very minimal. So if I rest my hand here, again, it's perfect. And so the highest point is around here, similar to this. But it's okay because at that point, you're usually not using that. The pressure is around here. And because it's flatter, you can spread everything here. And so you have that click here, and it works, the left click. And then you can just make changes to that. As you can see on my screen, I hope I don't accidentally click anything because I didn't turn off the Wi-Fi or the radio connection. So anyway, so that works, and there's a little bit of difference I think on the angle. This is a little bit shallower, this is sharper, and you can tell that this side here is thinner or thicker than that. So if they are the same height, this would definitely be a lot sharper, but you probably won't notice it when you're using it. What might be bothersome to most people is this right click, left right click, because that's unnatural. You usually would want the right click to be on the other side, on the right side of the trackball. But you can change it. Sanoa provides a software to remap the keys. It's a little bit hard to find because the website is in Japanese. And some of the model names, codes do not match what is provided on Amazon. But the Amazon, if you buy this from Amazon, it would also come with a little card with a QR code. I think it works. I didn't try it. I just went to the website and looked for something that looked like this, and it seemed to work. And mapping is actually easy. You just select button like this one here, and then you assign it to whatever function you want, and again there's a built-in list of functions. What I don't like, however, is for that mapping is not saved in the hardware, so you always have to open the app. In fact, if you close it, it will warn you that you will lose the mapping, and I don't like it because I don't want anything else running unnecessarily on my computer. And I actually have auto hotkey anyway because I map some of my keyboards if the keyboard does not support VIA or KMK. So I have that running anyways, and so I just do the mapping of the mouse buttons there, so I don't use that Sanwa software. So it works for me. I have never had problems. So to me, this one, for example, this is left click, right click, and the other difference is on this side you have these two buttons here, whereas on the Nulea or Proto Arc they only have one. So there's nothing here. This is just resting your little finger here, and then this is your ring finger, and then you hold this here. Now for many people, they don't like this design because they can accidentally click it, whereas here you can put pressure and it's fine. I don't have that problem, and I actually prefer it this way for no other reason than that I like this side, because it's this button here is more organic. It's part of the shape, whereas this one has this traditional design that's carried over from, let's say, that mouse, where you have those little buttons there. It's very superficial. It doesn't really change anything, and in fact I actually also like this, but because I have that option, I prefer the Sanwa, and I'm not bothered by the pressure here. I don't have accidental clicks. The two are very similar. Softness is fine. This one is also similar. What might be different? Well, let me mention two things. One, the material for the surface between this and this are slightly different, and maybe the Nulea is also similar to the Proto Arc. If you rest this after some time, this actually keeps the warmth. This is warmer, whereas this is colder to the touch. and I actually prefer this one. Both are sort of rubbery. This one is definitely the more sticky, rubbery feel in relative terms to this, but it's still very smooth. So I like this one better, and it's colder. After some time, you put it in your hand, yeah, and it's a sort of welcome feeling that it's cold. This one keeps its warmth and it's smoother, and this one is kind of dark gray. This is more black. I'm not sure if you can see that. And in a way you can probably see that it's shinier, so you can see this ridge here, whereas that one is a little bit more matte. The ball size is the same. The click, they're selling this as the click should be quite quiet, so yeah, it's fine. This one is a little bit louder, but the noise actually comes on the rebound. So if you press it down, it's quiet. On the rebound, it just makes that click noise. Again, not a big deal for me, but I'm more worried, I'm more bothered aesthetically by this one here. So maybe I'll consider buying the Nulea at some point, because yeah, this is also perfect. And typically this tend to be more expensive than this. This usually does not come with discounts in Amazon often, whereas this one would, as well as the Nulea. So you just wait out for those discounts and get them for cheaper. On the pictures, it looks like, if you look at this, looks like this is a big protrusion, but it's actually not if you rotate, so it's pretty okay that way. And you might also feel that because of this angle here, that it's unstable. It's really flat at the bottom. Nitpicking at this point, if you invert it, the labels here is actually better on the Proto Arc and the Nulea, because they look the same. This one is a little bit more confusing. The labels and the buttons are not next to each other, but you'll easily figure it out. It's not too difficult, but that's just nitpicking. So with that, yeah, between these two, slightly prefer this one overall, even if I like the surface here, mostly because of this, and then I can the feel of the shape seems a little bit better on this, but that's probably just I don't know, biased sense, because they do look almost the same. So Proto Arc, not a bad choice. Nulea, similar one to this, potentially also not a bad choice. And I've tried it before, but the version I had some weirdness in the trackball movement, so I had to return it. So let's go back to this and why I like this and also sort of don't like this. This is actually perfect because, again, similar. I like the rotation of the wrist here, so it's more natural. So it tilts here, and that's perfect to me. There's really no other, and again, this surface is very similar to other Nulea. So this Proto Arc, similar rubbery kind of surface, so you don't slide, and it's cool to touch over time. What doesn't work for me is this one here, the trackball. It's too light, so I usually can't get precision, and I tend to set my DPI to be to be such that one rotation. So if I put the mouse on the left edge of the screen and I put my hand here and I rotate it fully here, I want that mouse to cover exactly one screen, and so it's a little bit jittery and jumpy, so it's hard to get precision. And so with this being light, I don't get that control. And also because I think just generally my thumb does, I do not have much control over my thumb, whereas I can get more precision because I have better control of my index finger, and I have two fingers to control ball, so even better. And so I suspect they made it a little bit tight simply because it would be tiring to your thumb if this had a lot more resistance. And so yeah, that probably comes with the design. So I don't expect other thumb trackballs to fix that lightness problem, but I haven't tried many of these to conclusively say that. The other design, this comes with on the Nulea brand. I believe this is the M501. So they have a version where there's a support base, a wedge. So when you use the wedge, it actually tilts even more, which is even better because you're now almost in handshake, neutral stance when you have it here. The problem though with that is because this is small, I actually slide my hand. Unless I'm grabbing it, I'm holding on here. I tend to slide my hand and the pressure builds around here. So that's too much pressure because I think it's almost standing up. So it doesn't work for me. So I prefer to just have it normal like that because there's already a symmetry anyway. So as you can see, there's already that angle. So overall, thumb trackball designs are pretty good. They're okay. They're actually really comfortable because it follows the cup of your palm. The problem that I have is, again, just mostly on this. I have better control with this, and I suspect many of the almost everyone would probably have finer control with this than this. So it just depends on how you use your mouse. The other problem I have with this is because this is like a concave, much bigger concave shape than this. So if you look at this one here, it just here that's a little bit high, but this one is flattish, and so the pressure is even, and I can put it that way, which is to me exactly how I wanted it, how I have it for my Asus mouse. Whereas this one I have to cup, and the pressure here is builds over time. Again, it's comfortable if you're just resting it, but for some reason I don't like it. Maybe it works for other people. It's just too much bulge here, so I thought you can lessen it, but yeah, that's their design. But overall, no problem at all. Also, you have this forward backward button and then the DPI switch, but not for me because I want the precision. So if I go back here and so this is, and I think many gaming mice, because I have a lot of this little light mice also, I tend to have a problem when there's a big bulge here. So I prefer the flatter one, and of course the symmetry. So let me take a look at this here. So this is the flat center, usually center. Well, people use it here. There's Sling Blade from Kensington, and then Nulea Proto Arc also have variations, and then Elicom also have good variations. So I like this. You have a bigger ball, so you have better control. Sling Blade, and I think maybe Elicom also has a variation where there's a rotating ring here, which is your scroll button. So it works beautiful. Here my scroll is this one. Now this is also perfect. The only problem here is, again, it's the rotation of the wrist because it's flat, and here I'm forced, instead of doing that, I'm forced to angle it down, and over time it's not comfortable for me. It's not painful yet, but I don't want to get into that. And so that's the only thing. Otherwise, I have no problem with this kind of design on any brand. I had Sling Blade before. I had some other problems with it, like accidentally clicking either this or this, and yeah, and the rotation. But overall, this works. To me, I wanted this because I have this split keyboard. Usually split keyboards, even the expensive ones, they would have a thumb trackball here on they usually hang it around this side, and so you use the thumb, but I don't have much control over my thumb. I prefer the IBM ThinkPad design, the track point, where you have that little red knob kind of around the GH, I think, yeah. So you just swivel it here and then you control it. I was trying to mimic something similar by using this, the left side here, right side here, and then placing this in the middle. But this is too big, so I'm forced to separate. I'm forced to separate my the two sides around here, which is too wide. If they probably made it by making this even thinner, and the ball should still be fine, thinner, I think it would be perfect. But there's nothing like that, so I couldn't really put the thing here in the middle. It looks cool, it looks fancy when you have that. I look like an absolute nerd. But I don't have that. Didn't work for me. So that's the only reason why this one hasn't worked for me so far. I can't quite mix it with my desk setup, because once I put it here, yeah, it's that rotation that becomes a problem. It does come with, this one comes with a stand here, so it helps. So you're not bending this a lot. And this is also the other problem. So I should have mentioned at the beginning, there are two problems that I'm trying to solve. So this wrist is almost straight, so I don't have a lot of the bend, and that I don't have that rotation. So this one, usually without the rest, you would end up doing this because you're clawing that, and there's too much of an angle here, and it kind of is painful at after some time. But if you have the support and it flattens, that's good. And that's what I'm after here with this old trackball. It's just straight. I have no which is why the bulge is annoying, because it kind of forces me to cup this, and that's a little bit of the unusual angle. So to me, these two are perfect. I haven't tried the Microsoft Explorer because they're also kind of expensive now and hard to find. I haven't tried the Bloopy. To me, too expensive, and I'm happy with this, but maybe I'll try the Bloopy after some time if I get more money from somewhere. So the other thing that I had problems with the Proto Arc and maybe the Nulea is the scroll wheel. Is when you scroll down, of course, the screen moves up and down, and then if you press it, it becomes it changes into what, how do you call it? The panning version of the I'm not sure if I can show it here. I can't really show it in this because I don't have a long window. But my problem here is when I'm scrolling, this activates when you tilt. So imagine this is the ball, this is the scroll wheel. It activates when it tilts down. So when I'm scrolling, I accidentally sometimes put too much pressure and it clicks down, and it changes the function of the scroll. Sanwa is different. So they activate going up. So you don't, even if you put a lot of pressure down, it doesn't activate. They actually activate it by going up. And I think that a lot better actually, because I keep on making that mistake on this one. So that works. Yeah, that was probably a bigger deal breaker between these two, which is why I prefer this. There's also another function here that wasn't obvious at the beginning. So as I said, I prefer my trackball to cover the entire screen on one rotation. So just from that to this would cover the entire screen. And so it's kind of a very sensitive DPI. It's usually the second most sensitive from, let's say, if there are 4 settings, usually it's the second most sensitive. What I didn't know that this was actually acceleration sensitive. So if you move it quickly, it adjusts. And so even if you set it from here to here on one rotation, if you move it quickly, it actually goes to the other screen. But on the Proto Arc, maybe the Nulea didn't have that acceleration sensitivity, so they always fix that. So that to me is a little bit of an advantage. Maybe not such a big deal because you don't really have to. But maybe for other people it's annoying because there's no predictability on the movement, right? If you suddenly just accelerate a little bit more, all of a sudden your mouse is off the screen or on the right edge. But to me it works. What else? And yeah, so this is warmer, colder. I prefer the cold, and that one has no problem, but just a little bit a tad too big. But for me, this is my workhorse for now. I do have that auto hotkey that's a little bit annoying because this is by default right click. But yeah, I now map it to my right click here. this switch here, this button here, and then I keep this as my back button, I think, and this is my forward. The last one here is my forward button to control internet navigation, web page navigation. So that one works now. This one is quiet, this one is also quiet, this one is light quiet, this one has a little bit of noise. I'm not sure if you can hear it. Let's see, put it here. So I don't know if this is how it is or this is just the model that I have, but otherwise it's not no big deal. If you've seen videos of the Bloopy, that's even worse. It's mechanical grinding pretty much, but to me, I'm not going to say that's bad because of that. I have much more noisy stuff like this guy here. Let's see, that's way too loud, so I don't really have that hang up on the sound. I do have quiet mice and keyboard, but yeah, that one doesn't eliminate that. But anyway, so I think I'll stop here. It's been a rambling video to me. Sanwa Gravi. This comes with the wired version. This is the wireless with the 2.4 gigahertz radio, and I think it has Bluetooth as well. This is the Proto Arc, similar to Nulea. Nothing wrong with this except this one is annoying accidental click going down, which changes the behavior of the scroll, this scroll wheel accidentally. And they're both comfortable. That one is good also. It just twists my wrist and I'm forced to angle up without the wrist. This one is also good, but again, as I said, the bulge here, too much pressure. And then the wedge option or any other thumb trackball that does too much, I think it then transfers the pressure to this edge, which is not good, at least to me, because I also have a version, a mouse, traditional mouse, that's sort of like the almost the standing up, and so that's even worse because you have to move it. And number one, they're not light as this one. This is maybe 50-60, I'm not sure. And because it's too tall, it tends to tip over, so it's even more well, annoying is the word I use. So I have those and I haven't used it in a long time. So that's that. I'll stop here. Yeah, this is again, as I said, a little bit of a diversion, different thing than what I normally record. But that's hopefully that would help other people who is trying to figure out which trackball would make sense. Normally you can try some of this and then kind of return to some sellers that allow returns, but if you don't have that, then you can, those are my observations. So yeah, that's it for now. I'll stop here and yeah, hopefully that worked out for you guys. All right, talk another time. Bye.